So hopefully it's okay with you guys, and we'll get started in a couple of minutes. We'll just give a couple of minutes. Here we go.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. And so the chat's not available in webinar, but the Q&A is. So you can pop things into the Q&A. Even there you go. That's a good cue. Hey,
There
Deirdre.
we go. There we go. Fabulous.
She is fabulous.
Yeah.
One and only.
uh,
Love that lady. Yes, feel free to just, like I said, if you've got comments or anything else, just pop it into the Q&A since that's what we'll use as we go here.
Yeah. Yeah, and we want to make this somewhat interactive. So if you have any questions along the way, feel free to kind of, again, put them in the Q&A and we'll answer them.
Right on. It is. That's so dear.
It is.
She's amazing.
There's James. James, good to see you, my buddy. James and I go back all the way to Countrywide Wholesale days.
Oh, is that right? Awesome.
Oh, and Debbie's great. IndyMac, not IndyMac, Penny Mac. When we started up Penny Mac, we had like right now it's like thousands of people, right? We had Debbie was our underwriter, right?
Okay.
We had like 2 sales officers.
Amazing.
I was the head of originations for Penny Mac, for a little while when it was just really, really small. And Debbie was awesome.
Good stuff. Well, good friends here. I would say let's rock and roll.
All right, we have 9 people. That sounds good. Hey, thanks for being on, guys. 2023 is almost over. We're looking at 2024, and we just think it's important to talk about sales management. I know there's a lot out there for loan officers, but I think it's very important that we talk about sales managers, right? They play a very important role in the organization, and we should they need the support from us and from the community to kind of drive better growth and higher growth of the loan officers. So I have with me here, I have Sue Woodard. Sue, do you want to give yourself an introduction here?
I will. Yeah. I wish I looked like that today. No, it's just good to be here. I think I probably know lots of you. I've been in the industry about 33 years this year. It'll be 34 next year. And which just means I've been around the block a couple of times, but have been on the lending side as well as the technology side. And now am a senior advisor at the Stratmore Group and also an advisor to GoalCloud. And of course, as always, a mortgage and fintech evangelist. So happy to be here and support Adal.
Yeah, thank you, Sue. I really appreciate it. Sue is we have GoalCloud is a startup, and we've got some great clients so far, and Sue has been instrumental in building all those relationships. So
tell them a little bit about your background. You don't brag enough about yourself, so.
Okay, all right, I'll brag a little bit. I've been in the industry for almost 30 years now. 1995, started with Countrywide and worked there for a long time. After everything went down, started up Penny Mac with Stan Kurland and some of the executives at Countrywide. Moved to Chicago, was an executive at the Guaranteed Rate. And after all this work, my focus has been on strategy and analytics and sales management. And I just believe that I'm very passionate about sales management and helping sales leaders use technology and analytics to really drive productivity. And that's been my mission. That's why I started up GoalCloud. And so I hope you get some benefit from that today. So thank you, Sue. So we'll go ahead and get started here. So why sales managers? Again, to me, I think it's the most important position with the least focus in the industry. When I started training programs at Countrywide back in the day, we used to bring in hundreds of loan officers and spit them back out with very little results, right? And the thing is that when you bring a loan officer in and you send them back out, they just go back to their old habits. There's really nothing new that happens. The one thing that we realize is that, hey, if we can bring in a sales manager and train them, we put them back out there, instead of just impacting one person, we impact a branch. So really, sales management, a training sales manager has always been a big deal for me. And I think they need the focus, they need resources and technology to help them out and helping and produce better loan officers in our marketplace. So today
If
we're
I
going to talk
can, if
about
I
the
could just
object. Go ahead.
double
Yeah,
down
yeah.
on that, I would say that I think the branch manager, the sales manager, especially if it's the producing manager, is probably the most difficult job
Yeah.
in the mortgage industry, I would say. And in many cases, a lot of producing branch managers or sales managers literally came into their position because they were really good at being a
Right.
producer. But a lot of times you don't have the same attention and training that an individual loan officer, will get. And so, yeah, that's why I loved what Adal's doing here, is really focusing on how do we actually help those who are trying so hard to help so many others in their organizations, especially during these challenging times, because it is a tough job. So carry
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. It's better. Yeah. Beautiful. And so we want to discuss the management gap, right? And I think Sue just talked about it. Really, if you're a producing sales manager, you've got to produce as your main income source, and you got to manage people. You got to, you have to do ops support, and all the other stuff that you have to do. It's a very, very hard job. There's very little time to really sit down and manage, lead, and coach people. It's a big problem. And the second piece, we're going to talk about how sales planning is really the key to closing the gap and creating an industry leading sales team. Again, in my whole career, I visited plenty of branches, and there's always those unique branch managers that took the time to spend time with their loan officers, create plans, create goals, have weekly meetings with them, and they've always turned out more productive teams, more productive branches than anybody else. We're going to talk about how to build a great sales plan for yourself and how to achieve, how you implement accountability in your plans. And finally, we're going to talk about some tools and technologies you can use to make planning more efficient. It's time consuming, but there are tools out there that you can use to help you out a little bit. So what is the management gap? And again, Sue talked about this. Again, to me, this is like the biggest gap in the sales. It's the biggest pet peeve for me, because as producers, really, sales managers don't have the time, energy, or tools to coach and grow loan officers. A lot of times it's day to day. You get in, you're busy. It's you're trying to obviously produce your own loans. You're trying to help people out, but there's very little time for a manager to really sit down and coach up people, and that's why they need some help. To me, when I go into typical branch today, what I see sort of like a holding company, right? Even mortgage companies themselves are sort of like holding companies. You have all these loan officers coming in. They have their own sales processes, their own sales system, their own coaches, their own CRMs. And basically what they do is just sort of plug it into this platform that underwrites and closes and processes loans for them. And generally the branch managers there just to make sure that the loan officers have the ops support to kind of get close the loans. So if the loan's not going through processing, it's not going through underwriting, the branch manager steps in and can help out with that, right? But that's not really. But that sort of mentality has not really helped the mortgage sales sort of performance. In fact, it has really. Mortgage sales overall is very poor, and we'll talk about some data at this point. 50%, we have over 50% turnover rate in our marketplace, very high. It costs a lot of money and effort and energy to hire people and let go people and rehire people. There's really minimal loyalty, connection between manager and LO. One of the things that I hear all the time that really kind of demonstrates this is that ever since countrywide and guaranteed rate, when I talk to a branch manager and I say, hey, we've got this great thing that we're rolling out for you, for your branches, a lot of times what I'll hear from a branch manager is that I don't think the loan officers will do it. It's almost like the branch manager doesn't have any credibility or any pull with the loan officers. They're sort of like independent salespeople. They do whatever they want, and that's it, and they have no control over that. The loan officers, in fact, like they hire outside coaches for sales planning and support. Coaching is so big in our marketplace exactly because of this issue. And we also have the second piece that we have a high number of poor performers. I mean, it's there's a small percentage of quote unquote hunters out there, but there's a lot of people, there's a lot of loan officers that need support, that need coaching in order to get to the next level.
One of the things actually to add on to that too is you think about not just the turnover that we've had in terms of people like changing and moving around to different companies, which definitely we had some pent up lack of movement, right? We had people who maybe wanted to make a change, couldn't make a change to another company because their pipelines were just too big. That's certainly not being a challenge right now. You're seeing a lot of motion. And, as people tend to say, they don't necessarily leave, a company, they leave a manager. Very often that's why people make that change. We have had, kind of contributing to this, because of the decline in volume, some of the recent Stratmore data that we've seen has shown that more than 40% of the loan officers that were in the industry in 2020 are no longer here. 40% are here in 2020 are no longer here. Now, in many cases, they're that group that Adal was just talking about. They're kind of those poor performers. They're not the hunters. They were the gatherers or the ones waiting for the loans to fall into their basket somewhere. And a lot of those people have gotten washed out. But when you take a look at even the folks that are here, and this is numbers that many of you have probably seen in the past. And again, this is some Stratmore data that you're seeing on your screen. But when we think about who's doing all of the volume, it is, even though I see this number and it's almost always the same, it still just kind of blows my mind at how much of the volume is being done by the top 20 to 40%. So if you take a look at this is saying that the top 20% of originators are doing 61% of the volume. And if you take it all the way to being the top 40%, we've got 83% of the volume being done by that top 40% of loan officers. And that's even carving off, kind of that bottom tier of people who are maybe, again, being opportunistic coming into the market, or those folks who are kind of lurking around doing a loan or two a year, something like that. And so we definitely know, where the volume is coming from in the industry.
Right.
And if you take a look, I think we've got in the next slide, I think we've got some data from I thought we had our Ingenious data. Yeah, coming up next. Now, this is information from Ingenious, and this shows it even a little bit more exacerbated. What they're showing is they show a breakdown between units and volume, and they're showing this is a little bit wider. It's not just the past year. This is going back to 2018. They actually show it a little bit broader, showing that the top 20% is doing 77% of the volume, 71% of the units, but 77% of the volume. And so again, this is a little bit longer, kind of a wider viewpoint, but you hear the old thing about how the, top 20% are doing 80%. It's not too far off. Even when you're looking at both of these metrics, we clearly know there's a big, kind of a big weight hanging on those folks who are in that top 20 to 40%.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are crazy. I mean, it's unbelievable how 20% just do most of the business of the marketplace. And when I worked at Countrywide, we had a lot of consultants come in, and what we tried to do and say, hey, what is the best sales force look like? What do the best sales teams look like? And at the time, we were sort of like, this was us at Countrywide at the time, and most companies today. In fact, this is a little bit generous, right? 20, 50, 30 should be like maybe 20, 10, 70, something like that. But this is sort of an average performing sales branch. And really, when you look at best performing sales branches, it's not like they have 100% top producers, but they're just slightly better, right? They have, instead of maybe having 20% top producers, they have 30%, right? Instead of the middle being 50, they're up to 60. But the key is that you have to get rid of the bottom performers, right? Those onesie twosie guys, they really drain your operation, they drain your morale, they drain your spirit. And, these are people that are not coachable. We're not talking about somebody that's doing one loan a month that's coachable, that wants to grow. We're talking about people that are just, they're just don't belong there, So just these minor differences here can make a big difference for a sales manager. So if you look at your sales team, what I encourage each sales manager to do is, like, you look at all of your loan officers, see where they fit in here, right? Come up with some categories, and then try to fit them here, right? Say, hey, I'm gonna make, if I have 10 loan officers, I'm going to make, instead of 2, I'm going to make 3 top loan officers. Instead of 50, I'm going to make 60. But you got to minimize the bottom performers, right? That's a hard part. For most sales, in most sales environments, it's just incremental income, right? That one loan officer that brings in 1 loan a month, that's not good enough, right? Those people will tie up your operations, underwriting, all of that stuff. And I just put some numbers together here just to kind of show you what the difference would be. So, I took, so let's say in the current marketplace, I looked at some Gold Cloud data, and we have loans per LO here. About the top ones are doing about 10 loans per month this year so far from just Gold Cloud data. Again, it's a limited database, but this is what we have so far. mid are about 4 loans per month, and bottom are about 2 loans per month. And I just took it where, based on Sue's data, the data that she just presented, where we have 2 loans that are 2 loan officers in the top, 2 loan officers in the mid, and 6 at the bottom, right? So the total loans come up to 40 loans. So if you have a branch where you have 10 loan officers and it's like 2, 2, and 6, you're going to produce, let's say, 40 loans. But let's say you make the minor adjustments, and instead of 2, 2, 6, you go with 3, 5, 2, right? You have 3 top producers, 5 mid-tier producers, and 2 bottom producers. Let's say you even have 2, which you shouldn't. You're going to end up at 54 loans, right? That's a 35% improvement, okay? That's how you win in this market. You're not going to win by hiring 100% top producers. You're not going to do that. The only way we're going to do that is take the good people that you have and coach them up. Take them from, take the people that are doing 2, 3 loans a month to 4 or 5 loans a month. Take the people that are doing maybe 7, 8 loans a month to like 9, 10 loans a month. That's how you win in the marketplace. You've got to coach up your loan officers. The one thing I want to show you here, I know this is kind of an odd chart, but this is something that really, it's a very powerful chart if you kind of understand it. And I want to try to explain it to you very quickly. This
Don't go quickly. Don't go quickly. This is a good one. This is where a lot of the meat is in here. So
all right.
This is a really good one.
So this is a pyramid of organizational hierarchy, right? So companies generally work on these 5 levels. So you have to have customers, right? You have customers initially. You have products to provide them, like mortgage, advice, wealth management, etc. You have operations, underwriting, processing, HR, right? Sort of the back end to fulfill a lot of this stuff. And for most mortgage companies, sales officers, managers, we really operate in this space, right? So the loan officer really focuses on the sales process. That's their kind of responsibility. And the producing sales managers obviously do that piece too. But then the sales manager focus is really their ops support to the LOs, right? They're mainly in this area where, again, they're trying to, hey, how do we get this deal done? What resources do we need to close this loan? It's very loan focused, right? Sorry about that. It's very loan focused. Right.
Management desktop and mobile app solution designed to help sales officers.
What was that? Sorry about that. Hold on just a second. Sorry about that. Sales manager focus, it's really op support, it's loan focused. And most of the mortgage companies are really in this space right here, right? This is where we operate. But in order to get that culture of excellence, right? This is what the great companies do. Like you look at Southwest or Nordstrom's or Walmart's or Amazon. If you want to get to the top here, you have to have a great culture. And the only way you can get to a great culture is by having a planning system. It's really the only way you can do that. And honestly, for sales managers in the mortgage industry, it's really the only way you can do it, because it's really, you don't have much time, right? You don't have much time to sit down and look at each customer and each product and each operation with each loan officer daily. You don't have that time, but you have the time to really sit down and lay out plans with your loan officers once a year or once a quarter. You have the time to really sit down once a week or for 15 minutes or 30 minutes to make sure that your loan officers is on track. This is the only way to really get to a great culture. You can't do it otherwise, right? You can't do it otherwise. You need to focus on the people, not just on the loans. The mortgage industry is great at focusing on the loans, but you need to focus on the people. How do we grow people and coach people? How do we coach them up, right? And that's really the key. And this is what the pyramid tells you on that.
So the thing I want to add to that too, because I know you're going to get into some more specifics, on a sales plan in a moment, but I think what the key point that I really love that you say here is that I think a lot of a sales manager's time, the sales managers that I talk to, the branch managers I talk to, a lot of their time is exactly on these other things that you're talking about. A lot of time gets eaten up just by the nature of it. And I think what Adal's talking about here is not that you're not going to, of course, help figure out, how are we going to make this deal? How do we help with this customer? What's going on in ops? How do we get this loan through? Of course, that's a big part, and it's an important part of the job, being an advocate. But I think the important part here is it's being very intentional about how are you carving out time to talk about these other things, because these are the things that are going to keep people for the long haul. You know, the lower level of this pyramid this is kind of the, hey, we're going to give you a fish, you know, and like this is how we kind of like, we're going to eat for a day. You know, it's the stuff up top, and carving out that time and being intentional about it and looking to the future, and being thoughtful about how are we actually going to help grow your career? How do we help you grow your potential? How do we make sure that you're really plugged into the, you know, the culture here? How are we working together as a team, not just on, you know, this deal, but it's really being intentional about that as a sales manager. And some of that is literally it's time management on the part of the sales manager. It is blocking that time out and being super intentional. And again, I know you're going to get into some of the what do you do, you know, how do you do it in this time? But I think just that note, as simple as it is literally being intentional about, I need to make sure that time is blocked out and set to talk about these things at the top of the pyramid, not just, I got to make myself available for every crazy thing that's going to go on during the day, because all of your time, we all know this just from our daily lives, right? No matter what you have in your plan, all these things constantly come up, but that's how you actually, any great thing that you've moved forward in your own career has been because you have blocked out time to say, I'm really going to focus on this and move, you know, this thing forward and be intentional about it, not just hope that I have the time to work on these important things at the top of the pyramid.
Yeah, absolutely. When I used to go visit branches, you know, some of these branch managers were amazing at it, right? They, like you said, I mean, they would block out every Wednesday from like, you know, 11 to 12, and they were religious about it. Every Wednesday at this time, we're going to sit down and review your plans. Every whatever day, you know, you have to fill out your goals. At the time, there were binders and Excel spreadsheets and all that stuff. So I think time blocking is critical, and but you know, again, you got to have a planning system if you want to have a great culture. You cannot have a great culture without a planning system. So you need a planning system. You know, for the loan officers, it's a great way to create a connection. Again, I think one of the biggest weaknesses in our current structure is that there's not really much of a connection between the loan officer and the manager. Really, the loan officer, if they're good, they hire their own coach and they outsource the management piece of it, right? Which to me doesn't make sense. I mean, what's the loyalty, right? What's the loyalty to the manager, to the company, if that loan officer is outsourcing their management, their coaching? It doesn't make sense. So having a plan, sitting down with the loan officer and creating a plan, it's a great way to connect with them. But also the second piece, which is kind of, it's also another kind of big thing for me, is that, you know, as a sales manager, you have a branch that you have to manage, right? You have goals yourself, right? You need to be a profitable center. You know, it's not unreasonable for you to say, hey, loan officers, let me know what you're going to do next year so I can have a plan, right? I need to hire X number of processors. How much money can we spend on marketing? How much, right? You need to know that for yourself. And a lot of that, what I ask people, I ask sales managers, hey, what are your branch projections for 2024? A lot of them don't know. You know, a lot of them will take sort of like some number from 2023 so far, and they'll assume that interest rates are going to decline by X number of amount, and we're going to get a pickup of X number of volume. But they don't have really projections based on what loan officers are telling them. And as you know, if I'm an investor in your branch, which every mortgage company should be, you need to tell me as a branch manager, hey, Adal, within a certain amount of certainty, we're going to produce X amount of volume next year because all of my loan officers committed to these numbers, right? All of them said that they were going to give me these numbers. And, you know, we know that the environment's not going to be perfect, but, you know, there's plus or minus. But that's important for you also as a branch manager. That role is yours. You have a P&L to take care of, and you need to make sure that you have that taken care of. And you need to make sure that your loan officers feed into, you know, it shouldn't be an option for a loan officer to give you or not give you their goals for next year, right? It shouldn't be an option, because that's something that you need in order to manage your operation. Okay, so again, it's great for the loan officer. It's a great way to connect. It's great for them to achieve more, but it's also your responsibility, your requirement to make sure that your branch is profitable, moving forward, growing, and is excelling. Okay. So we're going to get into some details of a plan here, how to do a plan. And we're going to talk about sort of high level. We'll get into some nitty gritty stuff in a little bit. But basically, there are four keys to a plan, right? We talk about the why. Here's the vision, sort of vision page, which is what's your motivation to achieve objective mission? And people did that with vision boards back in the day. The
Still
how.
do that. I still do a vision board. I love a
Yeah.
good vision board. I think there's a lot of power in seeing the visual of something.
Yeah, I agree. I love vision boards. I agree. I love vision boards. The how is sort of like who's your customer, product, services that you offer, unique value proposition. This is sort of like the SWOT analysis piece of it. I think a lot of times, a lot of loan officers are out there just trying to get loans from anybody. And, we all know that if you're out there marketing to everybody, you're not going to get anybody, right? So you got to focus on a certain customer groups and certain markets that you can really tap into. The what is really sort of the goals for the year, right? The funding, applications, credit pulls, sales actions. What I propose is that you do it although you have an annual plan, you do it in agile 90-day sprints, right? Annual plan, what happens with annual plans, and I used to do these all the times, with loan officers back in the day. We'd set an annual plan, and the year would start, and I just came back from my ski vacation, so January is going to be off, and February is Valentine's Day, and that's going to be off, but I'm going to kick it off in the spring, and spring comes, spring vacation, summer vacation, and it just, the whole thing kind of dies out. I like 90-day sprints because you can just focus on that one quarter and say, hey, what am I going to do this quarter? It's short amount of time. You can really focus on it. You can break it down and get it done. So the what is very important. I'll show you through the application how you can break that down. And then tasks that must be achieved. These are things that, again, bad habits are really what's stopping us from achieving what we need to achieve. And what I recommend regularly is that every quarter you set 3 or 4 tasks that you want to overcome. 3 habits or 3 things that you want to achieve for yourself that are not quantitative, right? And this is like a strategic plan for a company. It's a strategic plan for a loan officer, really for anybody. You start at the high level with vision, the why, strategies, the how, annual goals, the what, and then you have some action items to really break down the habits.
Before you go past the slide,
Yeah.
I want everybody to take a moment and screenshot this or grab this, because I think that this becomes the basis of those really important conversations that you're having. So first of all, encouraging you to sit down and think about this for yourself, like Adal said a few minutes ago, as a branch manager, as a sales leader, not just knowing I need to do more or I need to hit this number, but it's really saying, really giving some thought to, why is this important? What is this going to mean to me if I'm able to hit these goals? Like he said, and then as you're talking to your loan officers as well, why is this important to them? I mean, tapping into, literally asking them those questions. What can you achieve for yourself and your family? What is it going to look like? Why is this so important to you? What's going on right now? There's a lot of loan officers right now and a lot of real life stress about making their own mortgage payments, right? And how they're going to make things happen, and bringing them back to their motivation and their mission and why they're in this business in the first place. And what is it? How many families do they want to be able to help, right? And what's most important for themselves in their own family and their own life. Going to that how and getting really specific about it. Do you have some different lines of business? Who are your customers going to be? Are you going to look for some alternative referral partners this year? Maybe start working with divorce attorneys, financial planners, wealth managers, CPAs, maybe just some different alternative things that you haven't considered. Maybe, just again, how are you going to do it? What's your unique value proposition? And again, not just kind of talking about these things, but really getting clear and writing these things down for yourself as a manager, as well as for the loan officer. And then I love this one where we start to talk about the annual goals and then breaking them down into, the regular goals that you're looking at all the time. Is how are you going to make it happen? And I talked to the most successful sales managers I know are the ones that don't just know their numbers, like the high level numbers of, well, I need to do X number of millions, but they're the ones who actually know, like, no, I know we need to do this many, this many calls, this many credit pulls, this many visits to real estate agents, because we know that this is what our pull through looks like right now. And so these are our actual numbers of how many of these things need to happen, like the actual what needs to be done, like you're talking about, almost like a sprint, an agile sprint of really saying what needs to be happen on the month, the week, and the day. And then getting into, those action items. And the thing that I love about this is again, just having this gives you your basis to sit down and talk about every single week. You're not just like, how's it going? Oh my God, did you ever get that Johnson deal closed? man, that's a nightmare. What's going to happen? Oh, you're upset at Penny and underwriting. Like we got to talk about that. This gives you actually something really meaningful to talk about. Man, I remember you said you could bring your kids, maybe on a vacation, later this year, if we're able to hit these goals. So man, let's think about that, talk about that, and let's dig into how are we doing? How are we doing? Are you tracking on the how, that you were planning to? Are you having to make some shifts with that? I mean, all these plans are in pencil, right? I mean, they might evolve as the year goes, but then are you actually, how are you actually tracking on the things that we know we need to do in order to make that a reality? And it becomes a really good template for those conversations that you're having, both for yourself as a manager, getting past just the number, as well as with the loan officers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's if you can sit down and just talk with your loan officers about this once a month, I think you're doing great, and you're ahead of everybody, right? And loan officers appreciate it. That's the one thing people don't realize is that I think a lot of times people, like managers, think, oh, the loan officer's on their own. They don't want to be talked to. They don't want to be, they want to be left alone. They can do their own thing. But believe me, I mean, when you sit down with a loan officer and you ask him, hey, what do you want to achieve, right? What do you want to do? What are your goals next year, right? And you tell them, hey, how can I help you? How can I help you achieve them? It's a big deal. It's a big deal. They're simple questions, but for the loan officer, especially now, they're really hurting. They're looking for a push. They're looking for inspiration. You're the manager, right? As a manager, you need to be there for them. You need to be the one that, hey, let's kind of clear things up a little bit, put you on a path. Let's move you forward. Let's ask some basic questions, right? It doesn't have to be rocket science. We're not doing physics here, but hey, like, what do you need to do next year? Why do you need to do it? And how are you going to, and just have them work out a little plan on their own. It can be in a Word document, or it can be in a, whatever format. But as long as they have clarity in terms of, hey, this is where I'm moving forward next year, they're way ahead of everybody else in the industry. So this chart here, what it does is that when I tell you my inspiration for Go Cloud, and a lot of you know like about the technology, is that when I'd go out and talk to sales managers, right, that were doing this stuff, they had it all over the place, right? It was so much work. You'd have the loan officers that were creating vision boards, which were great. Then you'd have kind of Word documents for strategy, where they write down their strategy. You'd have spreadsheets for the actual goals, and Outlook for calendaring and other things. It was just a lot of work. And I was sitting there with sales managers, and I go, man, wouldn't it be great just to have all of this in one place, right? That was like sort of the whole inspiration behind Gold Cloud. I thought, man, this is like so much work for the sales manager. It's too much work. No wonder nobody does it, right? Because I got to go 10 different places and pull from Encompass or pull from Edge at the time, from Countrywide. I got to pull this data and I got to bring it together, and it's just too much time and too much work. I thought, man, wouldn't it be great to kind of bring this thing together, all these strategies, all these ideas, to bring them together. And that's really the basis for Go Cloud, right? That's the basis for it, is to give managers a portal to really manage all of their loan officers, manage the sales plans, manage the strategy, manage their goals, action items, notes, all that stuff. So again, that was the inspiration for it. So I'm going to take you. So any comments, Sue? I'm just going to go into the demo a little bit.
No, I think, kind of what you're going to show is there certainly are. I mean, you're going to show what you came up with. And I love that you did this as a manager who was saying like, this is crazy. And I think the important thing is you can use these systems. This is what people are doing today. And I love that you're just going to share what you've seen, worked for you, and also has worked for some pretty successful companies that you've seen as well. You've got some pretty amazing logos that you can brag about.
Yeah. We've had
people that have adopted Gold Cloud.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of great success so far. Fairway Ignite has been really big. They actually coach all of their clients, all of their loan officers through Go Cloud. We actually private labeled the technology for them. They love it. Everybody comes in, they get them set up right away, and they start getting their numbers. Benchmark has been great. We just signed them on recently, and I know Christy's on the call here. But the manager there, Marty, he's requiring people, right? He's not making it optional. There's some people that are optional, but for most of his team, it's required, right? Hey, you're gonna go in, you're gonna fill this out. We send out emails every day, basically, giving updates to what everybody's doing, and he's requiring it, and he has people following up, and it's changed the whole kind of, it picked up the culture, for him. And we have PRMG. They've been great. We just rolled it out to the Western Division. Great guys, Don and Gino, great guys, and we just rolled it out to them. We actually, for this month, we have a competition, right? We have a competition to do 6 events. Every loan officer is doing 6, has to host 1 event and attend 5 other events, right? And they have to log in their stats in Gold Cloud. So, and that's how we track it, right? And I'll show you in a second how we track it. But all these companies, I mean, they're great, and they appreciate the value of having something that benefits a loan officer, but also benefits them, the management team also. And they've been great people, wonderful people, and so it's been wonderful that way. So I'm going to go into Gold Cloud for just a little bit, and it's not meant to. I mean, I thought instead of putting 100 slides together, I would show you kind of the thought process, right? What my thought process would be for a plan. And again, you can use Excel spreadsheets. You can do whatever you like. It doesn't really matter, right? But for me, it's about sort of bringing it together and doing it, right? And the one thing I know is that if it's hard, nobody's going to do it, right? If it's complicated, nobody's going to do it, right? Even some of this stuff where people have to, like plus minus stuff, people complain about it, right? I don't have enough time to click a plus sign, right? But that's the lowest threshold I can do. But if it's complicated, nobody's going to do it. So what I try to do is just sort of give something that's easy and simple, right? Make it easy and simple, even if it's handwritten or Excel. Make it nice and easy, nice and simple, so they can lay it out and follow up easily. So what we do, and here's what I would encourage you to do. Again, you can do it in Excel, you can do it in any format. But in terms of coming up with actual plans, right? What we do at Gold Cloud is really, we break down the goals, right? We help people understand, like, hey, if I want to make $300,000 this year, my income per loan is $1,000. That means I've got to fund 300 loans. At my average loan amount is $300,000. App to fund percentage is 75%. Credit pulls to app percentage, right? Once you put all this stuff in,
Adal,
yeah,
we're still seeing the logo page. So if you're wanting us to see another,
okay, let's see here.
you'll double screen, maybe triple screen, knowing you, but
one panel share at a time. Okay, let's see here. New share. Okay, all right, here we go.
I'd have to unshare and reshare. There we
good?
go. All right, that's looking much better. So
all right,
bring us back for a moment here.
technology. Don't use it. Stay away from technology. It's painful,
That's right. No, this looks good.
All right. So basically, this is Gold Cloud, but I would give you sort of my methodology, and I've been doing this like my whole life. Since day one, I've been in the mortgage business. I worked with Angelo and Stan. It was really a great honor working with them as strategic planning, and I was head of strategic planning for Countrywide, and and my whole career has been sort of developing tools like this to really help performance. And so this is my thought process on it. Again, you can do it in Excel, whatever you want to do. The first thing that we do, really, first thing that we do, we talk about the goals, right? We talk about, what do you want to achieve this year? And we break it down. So for example, like, hey, if you want to make $300,000 and your income per loan is $1,000, that means you have to do 300 units. If your average loan amount is 300,000, that means you've got to fund 90 million for the year. We look at your app to fund percentage, credit pulls to app percentage. At some point, you want to get to a credit pull number, right? At least, hey, this is sort of like your solid lead type thing. You want to get to a credit pull where you say, hey, I've got to get 800 credit pulls in order to get to my goal. And then from there, you can break it down further. We customize these, but there's appointments with referral partners, there's consumer offers, events held, email campaigns. Like, we can do whatever you want for your specific company. But the idea is that start breaking this stuff down to specific things. You can maybe have 2 events a month, right? You can have 2 appointments a week with referral partners, right? You can make 10 calls a day to your database, right? You can do, there's 4 or 5 things that you can do on a daily basis and calculate out that would just give you a a push, right? Like, hey, this is what you have to do every day. This is what you have to do every week. Okay. So at the end of the year, right? So we have an annual plan, then we break it out seasonally. Again, this is like sort of the 90-day sprints where you can go in and just say, okay, Q1. Again, I would really break it out quarter by quarter, right? Have an annual plan, but then say, hey, quarter one, what are you planning to do, right? So in this case, it's only 15%. So we're going to do 45 units in Q1, 35%, 25, 25, right? So you break it out quarterly and you focus on Q1. It's a Q1, that's where it's a go, right? We're going to have this many appointments, this many offers, this many events, email campaigns. That's really the focus of your campaign, right? That's a focus of Q1, right? You're going to get started right away and get it done. And once you submit it, right? Once you submit it, basically you can have all of your loan officers in here, right? So in this case, Matt Jackson is he has about 10 loan officers or 14 loan officers reporting to him. So he can see everybody, right? He can see everybody's performance. And this is where the management piece comes in. There's a lot of stuff where loan officers fill out that are sort of individual, they do their own. But with GoCloud, what we try to do, what you want to do, okay, what you want to do is make sure that you have a manager's perspective, a manager's view on this, right? So you can go in and just see everybody. And again, you can pull from the LOS or from whatever plan you have. You can pull in rankings to see who's doing well, who's doing not. You can go in and play around with the data. You can see, basically, you want to be able to see everybody where they stand. And here you can see sort of the red, orange, green. You can see, we just try to make it a little bit easier for the managers to see what's going on. We have some basic trends, which is great. You want to see if you're going up or down in terms of your trend. You can see your manager, right? You can see your manager status, not only just as a loan officer, but you can see what the entire branch is doing, okay? So the critical piece of this, the best piece of this is that you have clear, concise plans that are broken down quarterly, annually, weekly, daily. That's what you need to do for your loan officer, right? You need to sit down with them, create an annual plan and break it down for them where they know exactly what they have to do every day, every week in order to achieve their goal, right? And then and make sure you meet with them regularly. That's the key. The key is that you have to meet with them regularly. Otherwise, they'll go back to kind of what they were doing. They'll lose track. You have to meet with them regularly, even if it's about 15 minutes. What I do generally is that I have somebody come in, they open up their GoCloud, and they talk me through it, right? I don't do anything. They just tell me about it. So having a clear and precise plan is really accountability for yourself. Now you're accountable to the goals that you set for yourself. The second level of accountability is really the management accountability, because the manager has a complete view into everything that you're doing, right? So if you do this on your own, you've got to have a plan for your loan officer where they know exactly what they're doing. You have to be there to review it with them. It's very important, right? It's like dieting or going to the gym. I mean, if you hire a trainer, you're going to perform a lot better than if you don't hire a trainer, right? If you have somebody watching what you eat, you're going to do a lot better than on your own. So it's really accountability to yourself, accountability to your manager. And finally, we have accountability to your peers. I used to walk into branches back in the day, and all the managers used to have like the board, right? Like on the chalkboard, they would write down like, Jim did, 4 applications today. Mary did 2 applications. Joe did whatever, right? So what we try to incorporate here, we try to incorporate a scoreboard into the system, right? Into here, so that you can actually create your own groups, but you can see progress and you can, you don't want to be at the bottom, right? You don't want to be at the bottom. So if you're, and we send these emails out regularly, right, to our clients. But the thing is that you have to be accountable to your peers. You're part of, you don't want to be at the bottom of your peers. You want to compete. You want to be in the middle. You want to show them that you can do well. So competition is really imperative. So really, with GoCloud or any system that you're gonna implement, you got to implement the 3 levels of accountability. One is clear, precise plans that people can follow, so they can be accountable to themselves. You have to have management accountability, where you have to, as a manager, be there for them and make sure you keep them on track. You have to break those bad habits. And the third piece is really accountability to your peers, where, hey, we're going to work together, we're going to compete together, we're going to compete against each other. But that's how you get things done, right? The 3 levels of accountability. And that's why it works. And that's why it works is because it's easy, simple, and it has all the accountability systems in there. And also it has like a vision board, right? I love vision boards. There's some things I love here, and I hate my neighbor who has a big boat, so I'm going to try to beat him, right? I'm going to buy a bigger boat.
My neighbor.
I know.
I love it.
And we have a strategy page also that you can type stuff in, right? Very simple stuff like we talked about. The goal here was that we don't try to really make it complicated. We don't try to make it something that's really out of this world. We just try to make it simple where loan officers can take 2 minutes and they have their annual plan for 2024, right? And you can follow up with them. You can help them achieve it. They can work with their team, peers to achieve it. And it's worked wonders. And the companies so far have been fantastic in supporting us. And if you guys want a demo, or if you need support, or if you need any look or view into this, just feel free to let me know.
So I'll tell you, I'm just gonna kind of put in a good word. I mean, in addition to obviously knowing like the folks that you're currently working with and having heard their unbelievable rave reviews about it, I mean, I can tell, and the reason I got involved in Gold Cloud. By the way, while we're chatting here, if you have questions, comments, put it in the Q&A. There's no chat open, but you can use the Q&A if you do have a question for Adal as we go into our last couple of comments here. But for me, I think what got me really excited about is I know where I've seen results in my own life, and this will probably resonate with some of you as well, is I think about the times that when I had, for example, a health or fitness goal, where I had the best results in my life is where I was using my Fitness Pal. I was letting, my personal trainer have visibility into that, and we were sitting down and looking at it together, once a week or once every 2 weeks. And that's where I got actual results, because it was clear. I was setting exactly what my goals were. I knew exactly what I needed to do. And I was saying, and very intentionally, here's what I'm doing and here's why I want to do it. I had the accountability because I had somebody going in there and taking a look at it. And in the particular little gym I was working in, many of us would post our some of our percentage change in, our BMI or our weight or whatever, our muscle, whatever we were working on, how much we could lift. And so we had a level of competition there too. And so many loan officers certainly respond to competition, but particularly both, again, as a manager, to be able to sit down and have these meaningful conversations. And no, you don't have to use something like Gold Cloud. You can keep doing what you're doing. I think the meat of what I was so appealing to me about Gold Cloud is having managed. It's a challenge. It's one of the most challenging jobs that are out there, and you're constantly running from your own fires to, your people's fires, and you very infrequently can pull up and have those meaningful conversations. And when you do, the next time you meet, you're digging through your email trying to figure out, like, what was that meaningful thing that we talked about that they wanted to accomplish? And having that in one simple application was really exciting to me. And so I'm not surprised that the brands that have come on board with Gold Cloud, because you haven't really made a gigantic sales effort. You've been busy serving your customers. And so this is kind of almost a sneak peek to some of the folks that are on here. I think it's remarkable in its simplicity, but its effectiveness. So I have a question from Dave here. He says, of the 20% doing 77% of the volume, what percentage know their goals to the degree that they would with Gold Cloud?
That's a good question. Here's the thing, the 20%, when we go into a sales environment, right? When we go into a sales environment, you have, let's say you have 10 loan officers. There's 2 that are they're rocking it, right? They got this thing down. They figured it out, right? Those 2 are not not necessarily the Gold Cloud clients, right? Those are not the mandatory ones, right? Those are, they got their own process, and really you want to engage them differently, with those top loan officers. Really, what we focus on is sort of the meat and potatoes, right? The mid 50 percentile, the guys that are doing, they're the 3, 4, 5 loans a month, and you got to take them up to 7 loans a month, 8 loans a month, right? Those are the ones that we focus on. So, again, I mean, I've worked with, Guaranteed Rate, I've seen these guys, the Shimmy Brons and the Caltabianos, doing a billion units a month or whatever it is. Those guys have their own systems and teams and processes and all that stuff. But really, for us, it's really about the mid-tier guys that we really focus on Those are the ones that need the help.
So it's interesting. Dave made a great comment here, and I agree 100% with what you just said, Adal. Having,
Oh.
I mean, those top couple percent of, the producers, they've got, and it's interesting because they all do it a little differently. You meet people that are like, well, I'm just doing it with Post-it notes, and somebody else has got their old high tech, thing that they're doing. But like you said, it's that group of people that's kind of just right after them. And Dave made a great comment. He said, I know many 7-figure LOs. All of them know their numbers very well. And this is a brilliant way to make this easier and more transparent.
Yeah.
And I agree. And I would say, I would kind of add on to that. It's an easy way to help that next tier kind of almost behave. Like
yeah, I agree.
LOs.
And again, I mean, I know it sounds like I'm selling technology, and I really am not. What I want, I'm really passionate about sales managers. Believe me, I mean, I will help you any way possible. I think sales managers need so much support. All the tools are out there are in the mortgage are for loan officers. How to lead the management, this and that. It's everything is about the loan officer. And you go to events and you have 7 speakers on how to improve your sales as a loan officer. And to me, I want to help the sales manager. The sales manager is really the person that's going to help the loan officer, not a coach, not. It's really the sales manager that's going to help the loan officers. And that's really what I focus on. So if you can do it with, to me, it was just so much when I saw branch managers sitting down with them, working with them, when I saw them do all the work, I thought there's got to be something easier. But these are things that you should take. And if you're a sales manager, you should take and really implement for your team. You'll see incredible results if you just put down simple goals and just follow up weekly. 15 minutes a week. Just let them know that you're going to be there, sitting down, on that Wednesday at 11 o'clock, and I guarantee you their performance will explode, within
So
a week.
Adal, you said a moment ago, you're not trying to sell, and I know this is what I love about you is you're not trying to sell, so much so that you don't have your email address or anything here. You're actually interested that might want to learn more. So I would say they can go to goalcloud.com, which is GOAL cloud with a K, KLOUD.com. There you go. Or you've got your email address.
Yeah.
See? I love it. Like I said, this is one of the reasons I was so interested in becoming an advisor for Goal Cloud, is because your heart truly is to help and to serve based from your own experiences. Katie just popped a comment in there, which is so true. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, by Theodore Roosevelt. Thank you for sharing that, Katie. I love that. And that's very true. And I know, Katie, you work with a lot of managers as well, so you know the drill. So but yeah, I would really encourage you to, reach out to Adal, go to the website, look around a little bit more. But again, this is something that is born from someone who knows the struggle.
Right.
And there's a lot of different ways to actually execute this. I mean, it's all about having that the clarity and the accountability in order to actually make things happen. And we know that that's true. Any other questions, pop them in there. Otherwise, Adal, you want to talk a little bit about Goal Coach before you wrap up? I know this has kind of come from your big name customers who have said, hey, we need something a little bit more.
One of the things is that, I for me, coaching is sort of like, again, the top tier guys, they can pay $1,000, $1,500 a month for coaching. To me, I don't think coaching should be that expensive for the average loan officer. They need it today, right? I think loan officers need coaching today. A lot of them are just like stunned. They're waiting for rates to come down. They'll come down a little bit, but a lot of them are just stunned. They're deer in the headlights. And we just want to kind of get them to going, right? We just want to give them if you've been in the industry for a year or two, you know your way around. What you need is accountability, right? What you need is accountability. You need a kick in the behind, kind of get you moving forward, right? So we're offering this program. Really, Goal Coach is sort of our coaching program for loan officers, and it's $99 a month. It's, and again, we have a 3-month minimum, so you can stay for 90-day sprints. And what we want to do is we just want to make it affordable and powerful, give the loan officers something that they can, we're going to put them in a group. They're going to work in a group. They're going to be accountable to their peers. We're going to have a manager that's going to, like an accountability coach with them, so that, we make sure that they're moving forward. We're going to use Goal Cloud as a platform. So they're going to have their plans in Goal Cloud, and they're going to have groups, and we're going to follow up with them. We're going to have special speakers talking about social media, events, all this stuff. And again, we've got some incredible people that are involved in this program. And I think it's, you know, for any loan officer out there that's looking for just a little kick in the behind without spending, you know, $1,500, this is a great solution. You know, I mean, I think it's, I mean, for me personally, I just don't think coaching should be that expensive. It should be something that anybody should be able to afford, and that's what we're providing for loan officers.
All right, good stuff, Adal. Any parting comments before we give people 5 minutes back of their day before they rush to their next meeting? That's it.
Yeah.
It's a
Thank you
wrap.
guys for being
Okay.
on. Thank you, Sue.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you.
So glad to be here. Believe in you, believe in what you're doing, believe in Gold Cloud, and most importantly, super excited to see how things kind of how people get intentional about how they're going to lead as we head into next year. It's sure an important year to be a great leader. So thank you for leading the way, Adal. This is great stuff.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sue. Thank you all for being on.
All
Reach
right.
out to me. I'd love to chat.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care, guys.